Broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, this is KMA Talk Radio. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of fine cigars. Your KMA crew, the Italian Scallion, Paul DeGracco, Alex Tavella, a.k.a. The GOAT, and always telling it like it is, Honest Abe.
I like to smoke them like the Winston Churchill, like John Kennedy, yeah. Remember Coach Red Auerbach, smoked up for victory, yeah. Well, you can take my wife, you can take my car, but you can't take my big cigar. My cigar.
Good morning to all our loyal listeners, libertarians, and lovers of the leaf. I'm your host, Honest Abe, for this morning's episode of KMA Talk Radio, episode number 420, broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, along with my cohorts, as always, the trusty Italian Scallion, Paul DeGracco, and none other than the man himself, the man known as the GOAT, Alex Tavella. Gentlemen.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning on this fine Saturday morning.
Morning.
So, Paul, you broke ground at your house, I see.
Actually, technically, they broke ground before we even bid on it, because that's how they do things in the post-COVID world. So they don't start in these new communities. They don't start building houses until they can secure all of the concrete block and lumber that they need to build the structure, because apparently it's hard to get at decent prices or hard to get at all. So they have everything that they need for the house warehoused before they start building it now. So they broke ground. They poured the foundation this week, which is a big deal. But the house was all framed out. All the permitting was done before I even bid on the lot.
So let me just understand something. You haven't closed on this property?
We don't close. So the way that these builders work is you don't close on the property. Yeah, you don't close on the property until it's finished being built. Because it's not like I didn't buy the land and then have somebody build it. It's a pre-designed community. I've put a lot of money down.
Oh, so you put a down payment?
Yeah, I think we ended up putting like 6% or something like that.
Whatever, you put a down payment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Because I was saying, like, did you just post pictures of a house you don't own yet?
No, as long as we close, it's ours. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna close because you lose your deposit if you don't close. so yeah, it's our house.
What's the timeline on the house?
You know, they say September 30th.
They say
we'll go to closing.
When? September 30th. So you'll be in by Christmas.
You won't be in this year.
Yeah, you'll be in.
Well, the only reason why I think we will be in before Christmas is because their fiscal year closes November 1st. And I was told that none of the outside contractors get their bonus for finishing the property within the fiscal year if they don't finish the property by November 1st. But all according to people that I've spoken to that built houses before, the really lengthy part is the permitting, I forget what you call it, when they source the land and figure out where it's going to be placed.
Inspections.
Yeah. So that part is done, but now they poured the foundation, so then there's an inspection for that. Then they put the concrete block up, then there's an inspection for that.
There's an inspection for electrical. There's electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
And those are very delayed right now, obviously, even though things are starting to open up. Yeah, I'm sure you do.
We know.
So we'll see. I'm hopeful that we'll be in there by Christmas. That's my realistic timeline. We know people that have been in by their estimated build finish date. But then some people were like, I didn't like the way the tiles were laid on the roof, so we don't go to closing until they fix it. Stuff like that. Like there's certain things that you might notice, like molding is crooked or the cabinet isn't placed properly or something like that. But it just so happened to work out, which I think they did on purpose, because a year and a half ago, we looked at these houses and we picked all our finishings. And the two lots that they presented us with that they would build this house on both had all the finishings that my wife picked. So I was like, unless they're the most popular finishings and upgrades, or they did that for both of these houses and they knew we would buy one of them. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm a small fish to them, but I was like, this is kind of weird that this is everything that she wanted, because now you don't really get to customize as much as you would before, because it's based on what they can get.
I wonder if these guys, like, how long ago did you like price and whatnot of the house? I'm just curious. I'm wondering because I know like lumber is through the roof right now. I wonder if some of these guys are taking a bath on material.
Nope, because we didn't put any money down a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Not you. I'm talking about contractors and I mean, the price of lumber is astronomical right now.
I mean, not to talk numbers, but the house was
big shot.
When I say significantly, no. I'm not saying how much we paid for it. The difference in price is over $100,000 more than when we looked at it 2 years ago.
I know what he's saying.
The same exact house.
The guys who bid.
He's not listening. Right. The guys do
on the cost of lumber, and now building houses at lumber is probably double the price
or more.
They're getting socked out because what?
He's an aristocrat. I have no time for the peons. Let them work. Let them eat cake.
Because what happens, and it's not too uncommon in situations like this, guys go under.
Right.
And they go under in the middle of a job.
Right, that they already bid on. They're kind of stuck. Let them eat cake. I have no word. I do not care about the peons.
That's not what I'm saying.
That is what you meant. That doesn't affect. I don't care about that.
I'm just assuming that they're paying that we're paying all this extra money because of the cost of goods as well. I mean, the market here in South Florida is insane. There's more people moving to South Florida now than did in the 80s. I read a study.
I heard about an ad being run in Texas, and I love it because, with everybody now, like exodus, having the exodus out of like these, New York, New Jersey, California,
right.
Pretty much Texas, Arizona, and Florida, right?
Texas is the largest, I think.
Well, it's good for business, bad for politics, but it's really funny is Texas has this ad campaign going on, I heard right now on their TVs, like, welcome to Texas, but we hope you remember why you came here. I think it's awesome.
That is. It's funny.
Because, they're leaving their states because of the disarray, and then they, their ideology is kind of what led to the disarray, and then they're coming here with their same ideologies thinking like, oh, it's going to be different.
Well, I mean, if they're moving to Palm Beach County, they're going to be sorely mistaken on the politics side of things. This is the little blue dot in the middle of all of Florida.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
That's where they're coming from, blue states, Paul.
Yeah, that's true. Well, but I'm saying the people in Texas that are trying to get away from the Californians that are moving there, especially in the Houston area.
Yeah, but
that's what I've heard.
This little blue dot doesn't really affect the overall realm.
Not of the state. Not of the state. No, it doesn't.
Fortunately,
it doesn't. You're right. But they usually exclude us from things. But if you remember during the whole pandemic, DeSantis would say, the whole state is doing this except Palm Beach,
right? Literally.
Except for little New York.
While I was gone, I guess we heard now because DeSantis removed the mask laws, and then the county, the school district basically said kids will be going to school in masks. And I guess while I was gone, that changed. I came back home and I heard the kids will not be wearing masks in school.
Changed because the CDC changed their recommendation, I think yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
So Florida was ahead of the curve as far as saying no masks.
Good old Ron.
And now actually starting today in Disney World, I believe you don't have to wear a mask outside at all.
Well, that just makes common sense. So, thanks.
My birthday's coming up.
Getting back on board with common sense, people.
I mean, listen, it was just, it's really crazy because you're watching all these rules and they're telling you, like, I got like a Gestapo on one of my flights yesterday coming back. And like before the plane took off, listen, man, I got a big head. So, when I'm talking to my wife and my chin is moving, the mask just keeps sliding down my face naturally. And this woman attendant kept freaking out because my mask wasn't above my nose line. Like literally a third time. I was afraid she was going to call the air marshal on me. Like one more time. Like she had that look like one more time and you're out of here.
Oh no.
And
that would have been a great story though if you got.
But it's just so dumb because you take your mask down while you eat and drink, but then put it back up. So I just like took a drink and was like sipping it as long as I could.
Did they serve alcohol on the flight?
No. Well, no, I didn't see anybody drinking. I kind of was alcoholed out by the time I was coming home. So I really wasn't in the mood for alcohol, but I didn't see anybody drinking. There's no alcohol. There's no real meal services. All these pre-wrapped Ziploc bags with a sanitized napkin. And, it's like, but I mean, I just don't get it because the mask. Okay, but then I can have the mask off for like an hour if I'm sipping a drink.
But it's not like you're sitting further. You're moving your space.
If you're going to make him wear a mask, then don't feed him and don't let him drink. Otherwise, it makes no sense.
I don't know if I told this story, but I was out to dinner with my son somewhere. We were with a bunch of friends. We were at a sports barish type place.
No, Jeff. They did have other drinks because they had sodas and whatnot. It wasn't only water. But go ahead.
Fuck my story. So anyway, we were sitting in the booth and there's high tops and this and that. The same thing. If you get up, you have to wear a mask. If you're sitting down, you don't have to wear a mask. But I stand up because I stand up. It's easier for me to move over and cut my son's food for him. So I'm standing up, and one of the waitress walks by and tells me, "Hey, you got to put your mask on." And I looked at her. I said to her, "Lady, I'm 5'6". Standing up, I'm literally the same height as the people sitting down at the high top. What is the fucking difference?"
No, look.
Yeah, it's not like I'm moving closer to them, standing next to them.
And listen, I know Dan made a comment there. Listen, I don't got a problem if you want to wear a mask. I don't got a problem if everybody wants to wear a mask. It makes no sense. And that's a statement. I mean, if you're going to put people on a plane and make them mask up, but then say everybody can take them off when they eat and drink, then you're not really achieving anything. So just let's not have the bullshit about it, And now we're getting to the point where pretty much, like in Vegas, like everybody's vaccinated. They vaccinated like everybody in Vegas. So if you're afraid, go get vaccinated, wear a mask, and you'll be fine. You're protected, supposedly, But, I don't know why they're going to freak out if people don't wear masks, because that's, if you get there, I'll be wearing a mask where it makes common sense. Of course you will, Coop.
Where does it make common sense? Wait till he gets on.
Wait till he gets on. We'll want to wear makeup.
We'll talk to him when he comes on.
I haven't seen one situation to credit you where it made sense to wear the mask.
For a fully vaccinated person to wear a mask, I want to see where that makes common sense.
So now that's a question, because we have a friend that's a doctor, and he said technically you could still get the mask get the virus if you're fully vaccinated. But you're fully vaccinated really to get back to normal life. So if you get it, your body will have at least some antibodies.
I'm going to get a little sick. Right. I'm going to get a cold.
Exactly.
I can still get the flu. I can still get pneumonia. It's okay.
He said the hope is that you have enough antibodies where it's like having a bad cold. That's the idea behind this type of vaccination.
No, but I like the fact that someone was telling me, they said now if you're vaccinated or somewhere that you don't have to wear a mask. Who's checking this?
Right.
And did you see the cards? I can print them on a dot matrix print.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
But even then, who's really going to stop and say, "Hey, have you been vaccinated?" Yeah, here's my card. I mean, who's doing that?
And there's no central database if they want to use that.
Right.
Oh.
So I don't understand how anybody could ever enforce that. I think it's a little crazy too, honestly, if they did. But it is what it is. If you want to be protected and you want to get vaccinated, great. If you don't, you have that right as well. That's perfectly fine. I don't judge. I didn't want to get vaccinated, but it happened.
Let me tell you something. I keep a bottle of just the alcohol, and when I'm in public areas or high traffic areas or like elevators, I'm touching buttons with my hands. I just try to keep my hands clean, right?
I did that anyway.
I didn't do it before, but I've been doing it since go. But here's my thing. My biggest fear is continually touching my mask, taking it on and off, or moving it to eat, or moving it to talk. The mask keeps giving me a reason to keep touching my face all day. And I'm just telling you, I just don't know how, Listen, hopefully in another couple of months, everybody who wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. Look, I see it. If you don't want to be vaccinated, it's the equivalent of, like, in the state of Florida, not needing a helmet to ride a motorcycle.
Right.
There's no law. You're allowed to risk your life and ride a motorcycle.
Well, no, there is a law now in Florida, I believe, right? Or no. It's still not?
No.
Oh, they were trying. Okay. Yeah, it's a little. I don't mind like seeing people going around the block without a helmet, but then when they're on like 95 doing 85 miles an hour without a helmet, I'm like, I don't know about that. It makes me feel weird.
Looks like freedom to me.
It's his life.
Looks like freedom.
I mean, it's fun. You're right.
It's his life.
It's his right. But wait, let me go back to the touching the mask thing just briefly.
In California, they're perfectly happy with everybody shooting themselves up with drugs and providing. And, hey, that's how they want to spend their time on Earth. God bless them.
I mean, I think seatbelt laws are bullshit, personally.
So you were talking about not touching the mask. One of the guys I used to work for, entrepreneurial guy, his father was a pharmacist his whole life in on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Big famous people will come in there, and I asked my boss one time because I had worked for him and known him for like 8 years, and I said to him, "I've never seen you get sick ever. Like you don't get a cold." And it's not like he was like this fit, healthy guy. I was like, how do you not get sick? He goes, my dad was a pharmacist. He was surrounded by sick people every single day for every year that he worked. He said, here's the thing. One, he had an immune system, but two, you don't touch your face. He said, if you make a conscious effort to not touch your face when you're out in public, you will not get sick 98% of the time, even if you're standing next to somebody with a cold or the flu. And I always thought about that, but now you're right. All the time when we go into a restaurant and we pull our mask off, I'm touching my face. I'm like, I'm gonna get sick either way.
My biggest fear of touching my face on a regular basis, but I do it. I had to do it, And it's funny you mentioned that because I always joked about that. I've seldom been sick. I can't remember missing a day of school for being sick. I remember being sick one time and it was pneumonia. Okay, in the course of my life. But I joked about it because my mother and dad, grew up in a little farming town. They were farmers. I mean, the water they drank was literally like the running water, and they used to put some Tylenol or whatever in the water. And, that's how they grew up. They grew up literally in filth and contagion. Nothing
it built up their immune systems.
And I'm telling you, like I've seldom been sick in my life. I mean, I'll get a sniffle off.
George Carlin said once that he swam in the Hudson River as a kid.
Right.
That's why he never got sick.
No, it's funny, but I'm going to tell you because we just got back from Vegas. I was there. I was there for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. So, my dad's really old school. He doesn't like to do anything like over the top or extravagant. So like I got there early so we could upgrade the rooms and do some stuff. And it's his 50th anniversary, my mom and dad.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And you know what? And honestly, in my dozen or so trips to Vegas, my wife and I have never been there and not been there on business. So we've never gotten to really enjoy Vegas as tourists, So it was a very fun
way
trip.
More fun as a tourist.
It was a very fun trip. But I'm going to tell you this. It was very sad. Now, especially because, when you travel the world or you just travel anywhere, you just even in your hometown, it was very sad to see a place like Vegas where customarily like the service is like the standard of how service should be anywhere, right? Like, everything's on point, on the spot. Everybody gets treated like kings, whether they are or not. It was terrible. It was terrible from the airlines to the hotel. I mean, I upgraded our rooms. We had a penthouse, in the hotel my dad was at. And we didn't even get our rooms cleaned one day. And forget about trying to get a human being on the phone. So checking into the hotel now, they have all these kiosks. Now one person wants to talk to you. I even was checking out and I was saying, look, I want to talk to you because I want to make sure you charge my card and not my father's card. And the woman's like, well, there's a computer. And I said, I don't want to deal with the computer. Because I want a human being to tell me it's going to be done right, And when the room wasn't cleaned, forget about it. You couldn't. It's an indefinite hold. No one's answering any phones.
Yep.
No one's answering any phones. We had no hot water for 2 days. So in the room. So we had hot water in the bathtub. We had hot water in the sink, but we couldn't take a hot shower. So I think what it was is somebody must have readjusted the handle so it didn't go far enough to get to the hot water. For 2 days, we're trying to call. Finally, we had to go to the front desk and say, dude, what the fuck? I can't get hot water in our room. And it was just, you couldn't. My parents, my mom likes to play slots. So she was doing this thing where literally half, while we're watching her play, half her balance disappeared on the screen. Oh. Now, she had accidentally hit a button that changed the value of how it appeared. But we didn't know that. So, she's supposed to have like $300 in this machine. All of a sudden it became $150 as we're watching it.
Oh my
Let me
God.
tell you something. Now, this is on the casino floor where nobody fucks around. Like, I guarantee you, if I took a screwdriver out of my pocket and started like fiddling with the screen on the machine, 15
It'd be
people
right
would
on you.
in 30 seconds.
Right.
Right. So here, she doesn't want to hit a button. She doesn't want to fuck with anything. 40 minutes, 45 minutes, we can't get a body.
Wow.
There's nobody on the floor.
Really?
We go to the pit boss at the tables, and they're like, dude, we have nothing to do with the machines. I'm like, dude, I get it. But you got a phone there, and you know some numbers. You got to be able to call somebody, because all you do is you hit a button, like you need service on the machine, a little light goes up on the thing. I don't even know if anybody's really receiving that signal. We're sitting here waiting aimlessly. You know, my mother doesn't want to walk away from $150, but how long do you expect us to wait? Dude, it was sad.
Man.
It was a sad, sad way to see Vegas. I mean, we had a great time. We enjoyed ourselves. And but it was a very, very sad way to see Vegas. It really was. For something that should be I love my pillow cube. I missed it because I didn't take it with me to Vegas, Gary. So yeah, I love it. I stand by it. It's perfect for me. I slept last night. I couldn't wait to get home to sleep on it. But I tried to convince my wife to take it to Vegas. My wife's like, I'm not putting that in the suitcase. Like,
If
why
you-
not?
Yeah, it's pretty
big.
big.
Yeah.
Right. If you can get it back
I know
in
people that do.
a vacuum sealed bag.
But I effectively ducked pretty much everybody in Vegas.
And that in itself
I
was
can't believe-
masterful. That
Well,
masterful.
my dad
Step
stayed.
one,
My
right?
dad's a big Harrah's guy, so he stays at the Paris, and he stays at the Paris because both my mom and dad. My dad's 77, and he's got a sciatica and back issues, so he can't walk long distances. So Paris is actually a really nice hotel because you get to your room and it's not like walking a half a mile to get to the elevator.
No, I've stayed a couple times at Paris.
It's a really
Paris is right across the street from Bellagio area.
it's right by Bellagio.
Right, like literally.
Cosmopolitan's over there. It's everything's
Yeah,
close.
Planet Hollywood. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was really easy for them to get around. That's why he likes staying there. It's not a lot of walking to get around inside the hotel. And so we weren't really where everybody was staying, but you figure at some point you run into people. I really didn't run into anybody. I made one post when we were at Casa Fuente, and I got a couple things. Sometimes I see my booth, and I'm like, I'm not here on business. But the only person who actually caught me physically was Eric Calvino at the airport coming home. So I did.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I was literally waiting for Brandy to come out of the bathroom. Some dude jams into me. I was like, what the? It was him. I was like, oh, what's going on? So yeah, it was a good trip.
I thought maybe you were gonna like pop in there or something. Like I wasn't sure if you were gonna go and
There's no popping in. There's no stopping.
No.
I was surprised when I saw you make the post. I figured their main post wouldn't come until after you got home.
yeah.
I wanted to show respects to Carlito that I was at his place and
Right.
having a good time. And and
Ronnie Haysha was.
I only posted it in our socialite chat. I didn't post it on my
True.
public page. So most of the people on our socialite, our smoking social page, are patrons and not really industry people. So
Ronnie Haysha was all up in arms, man. He was upset. I saw.
I told him
Oh,
I was
look.
there. What's up, Lady M?
Lady M.
She's getting about ready to pop.
Yeah, you dropped that
With the
baby
new
yet?
baby.
What was Ronnie upset about?
Listen
I
to me.
mean,
He messaged me in the morning. I'm like, I'm with my parents on their 50th. We're at the Grand Canyon right now, which was really cool because it was the first time I saw the Grand Canyon. My wife saw the Grand
I've
Canyon.
never seen it.
And it was the first time my parents saw it. So I was happy I was able to take them for the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
And they were blown away by it. There's no picture. There's no image you can see. There's no video you can watch that will give you the feeling of looking into the Grand Canyon.
Were you terrified?
No, we didn't. They have a glass walk, the horseshoe. We did it over the thing, but it's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling how it's 700 and some miles long, 4 states. It's just mind-boggling. In fact, they told me a piece of data that was amazing. It said, if you took every human being alive on the earth today and you dumped them in the Grand Canyon, it wouldn't fill half of it.
Wow. That's a cool fact.
That's pretty huge, dude. And what's crazy is, when they first dropped you off, you could walk right. It was the Eagles Canyon. It literally looks like an eagle. I got pictures of it. It looks like an eagle flying, from the butt side, and you could walk right up to the ledge. So, listen to me. I was like, I want to look down, And I'm literally like, 20, 30 feet from the ledge. My mom and my wife are flipping out. My wife is yelling, livid at me. Because the driver told them that every year people die. They fall off the ledge. They're trying to get like a selfie photo or some stupid shit. And there's
you're sitting there looking over the edge.
Go right off the edge. And you got to remember, these are rocks sometimes, so they're not stable. So literally, my wife was she was mad like for 30 minutes. Like, I'm like, because you got to remember, like the ground goes like this. So she's seeing me stand here, and there's still another 20 yards.
Right. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, she can't see it, and she's flipping out. I'm like, I just want to get a little closer, But
see, my wife would be the one like standing on the edge. She's like, I got this, don't worry. I know she's been there. She lived in Vegas for a little while. But I've never gone. I've been with people that went to go when we were in Vegas, and I never went. I'm like, why would I leave this glorious hotel room?
You should for a day. It's worth a day to go and look. I mean, you're not going to see a lot of. You'll see only like one rim because it's a 3-hour ride, wow. 2.5 hour ride. But it was nice. It was cool to see nature like that, man. It reminded me of Alaska. When we went to Alaska.
Okay.
We saw a lot of like, you're looking at like, man, this is what the earth looked like before we fucked it up, right?
Right.
Before civilization like ruined it. And looking at the Grand Canyon, it was like that, man. You're just seeing like the earth and nature like untarnished. And that's why they won't put rails. They're not messing with the natural order things. Now, what was interesting enough was, growing up, I don't know if anybody ever watched the Brady Bunch, but
yeah.
you used to be able to take donkeys down to go down to the bottom of the canyon. There's no more donkeys now. It's a hike. It's a trail. But to get to the bottom and back up is 11 hours.
Oh my God.
So like the guy's telling us, man, you got a plan. You got a lot
of water.
Because there's nothing down there. So you got a plan. And if you don't make it back up before the sun goes down, you're coming back up in pitch black. So, yeah. It's
so do people camp down there?
I guess you could if you bought gear, but I'm seeing myself. I'm seeing myself. I'm looking down. I'm saying, how cool would this be to be at the bottom of the canyon? You're looking up, And then the guy said, "Yeah, it's about 11-hour hike." I'm like, pass.
Yeah, 11-hour hike for what? Like, it would probably be a 15-hour hike for me.
Probably be like a 3-day hike for me.
Yeah.
What would 3 day? I would die. I would be dead at the end of the first day. I'd make a good carcass for a lot of the wild animals out there to survive.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, your body wouldn't stay out there
feed the desert
too long. Yeah.
Casey, coolest way. I believe a helicopter would be cool, but I do not do helicopters. There's a story about that. I will not do helicopters.
I've never flown in one either, but not purposely. Yeah. It just never had the honor.
No, I won't. Like, I mean, like if I had to fly like in a military, whatever. Yeah, but like those little like glass ball, like fishbowl toppers with a little metal tail. No, never happening. No.
There you go, Chrissy. Keep standing on the edge, and you'll find out how cool the bottom is.
Long way down.
So it's funny that that Chrissy commented, because our guest today, I talk to Chrissy once in a while, and she can't say enough great things about our guest today, Al Micallef and their company. So it's his first time on the show, I believe. I checked the records, but I don't have documents going back to the first 2 years.
It is Al's first time on the show, without a doubt. I think we were trying to get him on like right before COVID and getting scheduled on, and COVID hit, and we were off the air for like 2 months.
We had spoken to them.
The loop, but very excited to have him on.
It's going to be a cool conversation, because I mean, if there's a definition of an entrepreneur, it's going to be Al, as you'll see when we talk to him. But kind of how he ended up in the cigar business as a cigar lover is an awesome story too. So without further ado, let's bring on our Meet Your Maker.
I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
It's time to meet your maker.
And joining us live from just outside of Fort Worth, Texas, Mr. Al Micallef. Al, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Al.
I'm so delighted, but I can tell you guys, after watching the banter between the three of you, I sure hope I don't disappoint you, because you guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
We just instead of therapy, we just talk to each other on
That's
the air.
it, yeah.
That's what we do.
Well done, guys.
Well, so Al, we said it. I said it before, but some of our dear friends happen to be really big fans of yours, and have really especially in the last year and a half or so, have really heard a lot about the cigars, and it seems like you guys have been in the spotlight quite a bit. But before we get into the actual cigar business itself, I kind of want to talk about you, because you're an interesting guy. I mean, if there's a person that could define an entrepreneur, it would be you. I mean, how many businesses have you started and run in your career, Al?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know the number, but it's got to be 20 plus at least, maybe more.
You still own multiple ones, correct? I mean, you have a silicone manufacturer.
Well, you only own the successful ones, The crappy ones you forget about, and
Right.
Everybody calls me an entrepreneur. I'm really ADD. It had nothing to do with being an entrepreneur. I just have this desire to understand other people's businesses, and sometimes I don't understand them well enough to save my own soul.
So along with the cigar business, do you still own the ranch, CF Ranch?
Yeah, I sure do. I'm a kid born in Michigan to a lower middle class family, and I never thought, in my mind, I always had a desire. It was. I can tell you that story. It was funny. When I was a little kid in the Cub Scouts, I built a crystal set. You guys are probably all too young to know what a crystal set was, but it's a coil that you ground it, and you can pick up radio stations without electricity.
Huh.
And the only station I could get as a young guy was Del Rio, Texas, because the tower was in Mexico, so they could blast out 50,000 watts. When they weren't regulated by the
right, no rules. Yep, absolutely.
There were no rules, so the only station I got. So I mean, my parents couldn't convince me that I didn't live in Texas, because I'm listening to all these Wolfman Jack and listening to all these Texans. And my dad would get a map out. My dad was, from the island of Malta. He spoke broken English, but he had to try to convince me that Michigan is here and Texas is here, and we live in Michigan. I go, I don't think so. So I always had this infinity and as soon as I had the opportunity, I moved an entire heavy equipment manufacturing company to Texas, and I would load all this big heavy presses on trucks. And when I got to Texas, I bought watermelons, and I filled the truck up with watermelons, drove it back, and I happened to be in a neighborhood where everybody enjoyed the quality of the watermelons in Texas. So I sold those that made enough money to take another load of equipment down. So that's how I got to Texas.
Wow. And you started out in Texas with renting, or what were you doing with this big equipment you're talking about?
I took over a bankrupt rubber company because nobody would give a 25-year-old kid a company that made any money. So I after I learned how to read an income statement and a balance sheet, and I figured, holy crap, Micallef, you're in a lot of trouble. So you better figure out a way to dig yourself out of that. And by going to Texas, of course, I was right in the heart of the automotive business, and the cost for doing business, labor and rent and all that stuff was so outrageous that I couldn't make any money. But it took me a while to realize I wasn't making any money. So I ended up moving to Weatherford, Weatherford, Texas, with our manufacturing operation. And it was outrageously successful very quickly. But I got a plant. I talked the city into building a plant for me in an industrial park. I rented it from them. 2 years later, I had to double the size of that facility. and all these old cowboys were thought it'd be a hay barn by the time 2 years went by. But we really needed to expand, and they turned me down.
Really?
And, yeah. And so what I did is I paid $160,000 payroll in $2 bills. And I covered the entire city of Weatherford at that time, maybe had 7,000 or 8,000 people. And that money just floated around the city. And somebody was smart enough to go, oh, this company contributes a lot to this community.
Wow.
And they approved it like the next week. And so that was just the beginning of, and then eventually I bought the building from them, and they made a nice profit, and they were able to bring other companies in. But that's how I solved that problem.
So I just want to get this straight. Your employees for one pay period, instead of getting a check, got an envelope with $2 bills.
Yeah, and there are pictures of me in the newspaper, and I had $2 bills. $140,000 worth of $2 bills is a lot of $2 bills. And I was sitting there at a table handing out money, and it was way over my head, all this money, and I thought, if somebody sees this, somebody's going to rob me, but no one did. But I told that story about a month ago on another show, and a guy calls me, he says, I still got the $2 bills that you,
wow.
And that's been,
really?
Had to be 25 years. Yeah, it was fun.
Hey, Abe, don't you have a guy? Who's the guy that always brings you a $2 bill?
I have a patron that when I open stores, he signs me a good luck $2 bill.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. My boss sometimes gives us bonuses in $2 bills, believe it or not. He still does it.
I just want to see the face of the bank when he went in and asked for $140,000 in $2 bills. I mean, were they? How long did it take them to get that for you? Do you remember? They didn't have that lying around.
Well, I had to go to the Federal Reserve in Dallas.
There you go.
I drove over there. We had this old beat up van, old blue beat up van. I went over there and to pick the money up. And of course, that was kind of dumb because they didn't want to give it to me, but they eventually gave it to me because I had the right paperwork. And the guy goes, "What are you going to do with all these $2 bills?" I said, I like to tip a lot. And he goes, "Tip?" Yeah. I said, it's nice to have $2 bills. So I drove that 140 or 145, I don't remember exactly the amount, back to Weatherford. And I had a friend of mine who was a Texas Ranger, and he's sitting next to me with his lever action. His name was Joaquin Jackson. He was the epitome of what a Ranger looked like. Tall, 6'4", lever action Winchester, sitting in I've used them in a lot of other occasions, but it was really fun. We got a tremendous amount of publicity after, with that kind of deal.
Al started saying Joaquin. I'm like, he's not going to say Walker, Texas Ranger, is he now? I'm like, no way, because that would have been too funny.
Well, actually, Joaquin was used as a model for Texas Ranger in several movies.
Wow.
And he was, he's written a couple books, and he passed away about about a year ago.
Oh, sorry. It's funny about the $2 bills because with that same friend who brings me the $2 bills, he does this thing when he goes to Vegas. He'll get a few $100s in $2 bills, and then he'll stack them and he'll glue them like a pad, and that's what he uses for tips. He's like, even a doorman, a taxi, valet. This because I just pull out my pad and I just rip off $2 bill or two $2 bills, and that's what. And he goes, the guys get a kick out of it. They're better than they feel like they got something more than just getting 3 or 4.
Exactly. People feel like it's more value than $2 or $4, whatever you give them. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So that's pretty funny. So, how did the CF Ranch start, and what does CF stand for?
Well, our original ranch was small, just outside of Fort Worth, and it was on the Clear Fork of the Trinity River. And so when we moved, or when we really got in the cattle business, at one time we had 14,000 head of cattle.
Holy cow!
I couldn't afford to have everything remonogrammed, and so we when we got to West Texas, we called it the CF Ranch. And we're inside of a volcano, caldera of a volcano in the mountains. And so I wanted to call it Casa Fuego never caught on. People made up a lot of funny theories, and you can think of what they came up with CF. Okay.
Wow.
But anyway, so that's why it's called the CF Ranch today.
Wow. Now, did you have any cattle rustling experiences? Did people ever
I
try?
have. Yeah, it's a little different than the old days, but we had 5 ranches, 160,000 acres. So what would happen is every so often you would find someone would pull up, drive some cattle to the fence, cut the fence, push them on, and then leave and go sell them in El Paso or someplace, on a weekly auction or something. But I don't think we ever lost more than maybe totally 50 over the years. But when you get $1,000 a head, some cowboy that's rolling his own cigarettes, $1,000 is a lot of money to them. So they put 5 cattle on and sell them for $5,000 or $4,000 or whatever they bought that day. A lot of money.
So they just catch them while they're grazing out there and just snag them away.
Yeah, it's there's so much mechanized feeding that you drive along with a truck that's got a big feeder on the back of it, and you punch the feeder and it starts dumping range cubes out. So if you do it along a fence, those cattle, if there are any in the field, they can hear that sound, and they're over there in a second. And
they know that sound.
Yeah, they know that. And smart cattle guys will feed in a big circle, so that every time you drive through the pasture, you don't have 500 cattle running after you. So you get them conditioned so that when they get the circle, then they come. If you just drive down there in your wife's Cadillac, you don't have them all following you.
Wow.
Huh. But and then now you also own a silicone manufacturing company?
That's what I moved to Texas 46 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the rubber factory became. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, that was and then of course you have these big presses. 300, 400 ton presses. It's a lot of metal, a lot of iron to move. And
what are you fabricating? What is the product that you're fabricating, Al?
A lot of gaskets and seals, but I don't know what kind of cars you drive, but all those spark plug boots that fit over the spark plugs, we've made 3 or 4, 100 million of those a year.
Oh.
And and that then we did all the ovens and gas ranges before self-clean, all had our gaskets in, and lighting gaskets, and just a whole variety of products.
So these are the types of stories I like to hear, because no matter what you do in life, especially if you're making, fabricating things, if you get a gig where you're making all the spark plug gaskets for automobiles, that's a life-changing job. That's a life-changing account. How did you get that account?
Well, one of the things we did early on is figure out a way to take scrap silicone and convert it back to polymer, which made us outrageously competitive. Not outrageous. We were really, really the low-cost producer in the industry. So once we started out, for example, we had Prestolite, which was a harness manufacturer. We had that, and then of course the whole industry recognizes quickly that you can make good product. You're innovative. You can make your own raw material. Other people had to buy finished raw material, so we had tremendous advantages for many, many, many years.
So they found you because you were innovative enough to find a better way to make the same product.
Exactly.
So
we were told. I was told as a young guy, and I didn't. I don't have a chemistry degree.
I was just going to ask who's doing the chemistry. You have a chemistry background, because that means somebody had to be smart enough to figure out how to do this.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm dumb enough to realize that I don't know anything, so I end up doing lots of work. I was told by many experts that you couldn't convert a finished cured product and turn it back into polymer again. And I basically said, that's, when you're making a product, if you overcook it, it starts to revert. It starts to look like mush. And I said, well, if it can revert, why can't I figure out a way to make it all revert? And so
they do it with other materials. They do it with steel and
plastic
like
and stuff like that. So I ended up putting it in an autoclave at a friend of mine who had a medical business. And I said, I want you to cook the shit out of this. And it came out just like taffy. And I thought, aha. And so we built a process around that, which made us very, very profitable for many, many years. And that was the foundation of all the other businesses that we have, that because it was the generator of a lot of cash. And and I'm not buying 300-foot yachts. I just like to put it into new businesses, and I just like the feeling of building something.
I know that I know exactly what you mean. That's what I've been done on.
Well, Abe, you have a similar background in the sense that somebody says, you can't do this, or we don't want you to do this, or you got to do my way. And you go, bullshit. I'll do it my way, and you know what? And don't, if you underestimate me, I'm going to be in your underwear by the weekend. So
I try to tell the guys that work for me, as quick as you could come up or the words that out of your mouth to say, I can't do it or it can't be done. You could expend that same energy and try to figure out, all right, how can we do it? And, if you get a few guys in a room and you really start thinking, very seldom do you hit that wall where you just say, nope, can't be done. No way. It's impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah, you may not do it to 100% of what you were thinking, but you'll find some way that will get you where you want to go.
Dead on. My kids you'll never hear any of my kids saying I can't. That was you could say fuck when you were 8 years old, but you can't say I can't because your dad didn't like those words at all. And my daughter and my sons, none of my kids say I can't.
I tell my kids the same thing. Don't waste time telling me why you can't do something.
Figure it out. I'm dealing with that with my 2-year-old now, and I keep telling him you can try and you can do the best you can to try, and he always figures it out eventually. But I'm like, stop saying you can't and do.
I remember a video of my son. He must have been.
I know where you're going.
1 year old, and he there was a chair in our living room, and the chairs have the little armrests, and it had the armrest with the hole in it, and he had climbed up into it and got caught and snagged, and that kid was like crying, looking at me, and I was videotaping him. I'm like, you got in there, man, you can figure it out, get out. And he's on Facebook, he struggled. He comes in my timeline once a year, but he struggled. He kept looking at me. I'm like, nope, you got yourself in there. You're going to get yourself out. This kid's like 1 year old. He doesn't understand anything I'm saying, but he's getting the gist of it. Finally, he works his way out. He's all happy. He comes over. He fist bumps me. And that's it. That's all I can try to teach him. It's just so easy to say you can't do something.
He was so proud at the end of that video, too. You could see the pride in his face that he got out of it.
Right. Dude, there's a sense of accomplishment. The sense of accomplishment is so much better than the sense of not trying.
My daughter, Amanda, who you probably know.
Yes.
I always told my kids, I never said, hey, take the garbage out. I would go, hey, you are in charge of the garbage. And man, I think she was 14 before she realized that being in charge and taking the garbage out wasn't a big deal. But I always kind of gave them the responsibility and the authority in a funny way. And, I still do it today. Amanda, you're going to be in charge of this project. It's something that's awful and hateful, but she said, Dad, I understand what that means. Okay.
That's great. That's awesome.
So Al, before we're going to go to a break in a minute, but during this whole time, while you're building businesses, doing business, are you smoking cigars the whole time? Have you been an avid cigar smoker? At some point we made enough money and I like to get places fast and do a lot of things. So we had our own plane, and I the only plane that was people were allowed to smoke on, and not cigarettes. Cigarettes were definitely outlawed, but cigars. And I had a partner
in a jet was a steel company, and I never met the guy. We got to be partners through a bank, and I finally met him at a function. We're standing in line, waiting to get a drink, and he starts talking to me. He said, "Hey, I know you. We're partners." I said, "We are?" He says, "Yeah, on the airplane." I said, "I love you guys. It's never a problem. You always pay the bills, on time. Anything we need, you're up for it." And I said, "The only complaint I don't have, but my staff has, is you guys are the drinkingest bunch of guys we've ever seen." Because we split the booze bill on the airplane.
Oh, wow.
And, none of us drink very much, and those guys, those steel guys, I mean, they live to drink. And, a lot of old Texans are that way anyhow. The Texas Rangers, I say this with all reverence because I love every one of the guys. They're all functioning alcoholics. All the ranchers are the same way. At the end of the day, they drink a bottle of Wild Turkey and go to bed. Get up the next day at 5 and go back to work again.
Sounds like some of my staff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, I gotta figure you're talking ranch guys. That next day comes mighty early. You're talking about
that's true.
It ain't come to work at 10 a.m.
Exactly. And when I first got in the ranching business, I learned so much. Like when somebody says, "I want to come by the ranch," and you go, "Well, what time?" "Well, I'll be there in the afternoon." Nobody says, "I'll be at your ranch at 2:00," because you never know what the hell's going to happen on a big ranching operation. So they just show up. And one of my good friends and mentors in that business, from the main road to his ranch house was 19 miles. And,
wow.
It's a dirt road. And
Right.
So I asked him when I got there finally, I said I was going to be here at 2:00. Does that mean at the front gate, or do you have to be at your house? And there's just so many funny things. And one of the things that took me a while is if you ordered a particular piece of equipment at the hardware store, nobody called you and said, your lawnmower's in or whatever. They tell everybody, if you see Al, tell him his lawnmower's here. So, by the end of the day, you had 8 people tell you that your lawnmower's in at the hardware store, but they never bothered to call you.
Wow. So we're gonna take a short break right now. After the break, we're gonna come back with Al Micallef. We're gonna find out how this amazing story of this entrepreneur and businessman, how it ended up evolving into cigars. In the second hour, we're going to ask Al the famous question of our Avo segment as the record spins. And we should have Coop on today, or is he still at TPE?
Yeah, Coop will be on.
All right, good.
He did not go to TPE.
All right, good. And we'll have Coop in hour 2, so don't go anywhere. Keep it lit.
Great, yeah.
Surgeon General warning: cigar smoking can cause lung cancer and heart disease. Currently available at your favorite cigar store, the Romeo y Julieta Reserva Real Nicaragua is another fantastic collaboration between AJ Fernandez and Rafael Nadal. Landing a #1 cigar of the year of 2020 by Cigar and Spirits magazine, the Reserva Real Nicaragua is handcrafted at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez. This Nicaraguan Puro is a medium to full-body cigar that is packed to the brim with flavor notes of leather, coffee, and red pepper, which pairs nicely with a spiced rum. Available in 4 sizes, Romeo y Julieta returned to prestigious form with the Reserva Real Nicaragua that should be enjoyed by all. Surgeon General warning: cigar smoking can cause lung cancer and heart disease.
Oh, hey. Being a dad's not easy. Gotta enjoy the little things. Ever hear of a sippy cup? Yeah, that's not apple juice. That's Sunal. Bonner Private Wines. You know, our friends over at Bonner Private Wines have a really, really great deal for KMA listeners right now. All you have to do is go to KMAWines.com, check it out, and we will give you a discount on shipping and a discount on the 3-bottle package. In that package is Sunal. It's a wine from 8,950 feet in the air. It's one of the hardest vineyards to get wine from. The vines are under stress. The wine is delicious, and it'll get you through days like these. When you have lots of things to do, and it feels like it will never end. So go to KMAWines.com and join the rest of us dads while we get our kids prepared for the day and just need that little extra kick. It's a Saturday. It's okay if we do day drinking. We're dads. We enjoy it. We're allowed to have some fun. Here you go, buddy. You have yours. I have mine. Cheers. KMA Wines. Oh, that's for Daddy. KMAWines.com. Check it out.
Not sure if you broke any child labor laws in making that video.
I don't know about that.
It was nice to see him put the effort and see my little man on screen. Well done.
He was excited. He did try after we filmed it. He tried to grab the bottle and drink it, and of course, my wife prepared it, so it was actually wine in there. I freaked out. I was like, "Whoa! If you're gonna drink wine, drink it at night so you'll sleep."
That's funny. Well done, Paul. Nice to see a new ad in the repertoire. We gotta get him one of those mics though, Alex.
Yeah.
So that when he records these commercials with an iPhone from a distance, we can pick him up a little bit better. We have him.
I thought the background noise of Coco Melon, which I don't know if Alex even knows about that, but he will because he has a new baby coming. Coco Melon in the background is the now soundtrack of my life in this house.
Is that the new kids cartoon now? Coco Melon.
Yeah, this really sucks because my kid is over the hump. Carmine's over the hump.
And now you got to go back.
Baby stuff, and now I got to go back to the baby stuff.
So let me tell you something about Coco Melon. It is, I believe they have the largest number of views in the world on YouTube. They're the highest viewed video channel on YouTube in the entire world.
But there's always, in every era, there's those Canadian guys. What were they called? The five guys in the colored shirts.
The Wiggles. They're Australian.
Australian, Canadian.
Close enough.
Right. But no, they were hot. And then what was Go Gabba, Yo Gabba Gabba was hot.
Gabba or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's
there's that Blippy guy who's like really weird.
Blippy. My kids love Blippy.
Blippy's he's like Pee Wee Herman kind of, but he's like weirder because it's not like a set, and he's just kind of like, I don't know. But I'm not.
Has there been a weirder guy than the guy who hosted Yo Gabba Gabba with the big orange hat and the orange spandex outfit?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, my kids was weird. I never watched
Blippy's kind of weird to me, man.
That was
Blippy made, I believe it was $13 million last year just from the videos, not including his merchandising.
That's peanuts. The 7-year-old kid, Ryan's toy reviews. He brings in like $30 million a year.
Unbelievable.
Hey,
unbelievable.
Yes, sir.
How many diapers have you changed in your life?
Honestly, I will say maybe, and I have 4 kids. I might have changed 2 or 3.
I changed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It really was for whatever reason where my wife was away. I was watching. It happened. I mean, it was. If my wife was around, I really never changed a diaper ever. I mean, I'm not proud of that, but that's just the way it was.
Well, I'm proud of it. I changed one on each one of my kids just to say I did it, and that was it.
Yeah,
so I changed 3 diapers in my life.
Yeah, I don't think I can even say I changed one on each one of my kids. I think I missed at least one of them.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I mean, now I work from home, so that's part of it. But
Dan and I were talking. If your guts were hanging out, I could push them back in and stitch you up, and it wouldn't bother me. Touch baby shit or baby poop. If you want to see an old guy gag, it's me.
And I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about those 8-pound bodies, but they produce some of the most carnal stenches ever in mankind. Like, I mean, as a grown man, you could put booze, food, grease, and it don't come out smelling like some baby poop, man.
Listen, when they hit like 2, 3, 4, 5, it's poop. But them early ages, it's shit. It is shit, man. It's a whole different thing.
Now I just gotta let you know, Al, because I don't know how many how you followed the show, but Paul actually went to a daddy day camp or something to learn how to change diapers.
Are you really?
Daddy Boot Camp. It was
Daddy
called.
Boot Camp.
It was called.
Oh my God.
There you go.
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised. Really, Paul?
Yeah, what has happened? What has happened to our world?
I have no idea.
Al, I
Listen.
am from your school, sir. I am from your school.
But I will say this: I didn't actually take the class because that day the people didn't show up or something, and they just gave us the books and said, "Don't tell your wife. You have 3 hours to kill."
So let me just put this in perspective, because like Paul's talking about that like a proud moment. What he doesn't fail to realize is he didn't take the class because there were no other men pathetic enough to show up.
No.
So
No. Students were there. There were 35 students, but none of the men with babies showed up. There were supposed to be guys that brought their kids in.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean,
Al,
I love you guys.
have you
If
ever
you ever-
attended a baby
If you ever
shower?
have a
Al?
whole, if you ever have a whole, call me again because I love talking with you.
yeah. Here's another thing.
Al,
Here's another thing, Al. Do you go to baby showers?
No.
Exactly.
You know what? I got tricked into going to one about a month ago.
you got tricked, but it's right.
I
You got tricked.
actually got tricked into it. I didn't
Paul
realize
goes to
it was a
baby showers and
shower.
weddings twice a month.
Oh.
First of all, I've been to 2 baby showers, and it was where the husband stood in one corner drinking. And I'm sorry, I went to my son's 2 baby showers at the end to pick them up, and then I went to 2 others that were friends of ours where the guys, all the husbands were there, like hanging out, drinking
Too
beer,
many,
or
Paul.
whatever.
That's
Like,
too many.
I just wait. Now I just want to get this. So you didn't go to your own baby showers, but you went to 2 other people's baby showers.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I was at the baby showers. I'm thinking bridal showers. I was at both my boys'
Bridal
There you
showers.
go.
I was.
There you go.
I still believe in the division of labor, and my division has nothing to do with that side of raising kids, being involved.
I love this guy.
I
love this guy.
Listen, I don't disagree, but as Terrence Riley always says to us, Abe has a good union. Him and I don't. So we share the division of labor with the kids.
Well, my wife quit work. She was a special ed teacher an hour and 20 minutes after we were married. So, so she was home, so I felt like, look at, I'm going to work every day. You handle this. If she left me with the kids, I call my mother. She left me with the kids. You got 10 minutes to get over here.
It's going to sound a little chauvinistic, I know, but sometimes I say I'm realistic chauvinistic, right? So I'm a firm, my wife worked until she got pregnant, I'm a firm believer in that it is a very noble, and I think it's very positive if a parent can be home with the child. I don't have a problem if my wife can go out and support the family, make a living. I'll take on that role, but I don't think it's any, in today's society, it's like bad for a woman to be a housewife and raise kids. It's like, oh, you're not doing nothing. I just never understood that mentality. That's the future. The kids are the future. Developing their minds and making them into positive human beings in the world is probably the most noble job you could have.
Well,
I'll be clear. My wife doesn't work either.
Well, if your wife leaves you at home with the kids, you really understand. She has the toughest job in the world. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Nuclear physicist. She has got an incredibly tough job. We have a waitress that works for us at Riata at a restaurant. She just graduated from college. Took her 25 years. She graduated from college. She drives a school bus. She works at a restaurant, and she takes care of her daughter's child because there's some issue there. This is a girl that's doing all of this, and I talked to her yesterday at the restaurant. She tears in her eyes. 25 years to get her degree.
Wow!
And she substitute teaches on top of that. I mean, I don't know a man that's got 5 jobs.
We wouldn't do it. In about year 5, we would send the kids out, go forage for yourselves.
Right.
Go feed yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
You just don't have that tolerance. Look, I work all day, and sometimes I feel like I work with 40 children all day, right? And I can deal with them because I can tell them to get the F out or do whatever. And then, during the day, I say, oh, I can't wait to get home and see my kids and, whatever. And I'm not kidding you. Like 45 minutes into being home, I'm like, is it bedtime yet? Don't you guys got to go to bed? I don't know how my wife does it all day sometimes between the needs of 4 kids all wanting her attention and talking to her. And it's mind-blowing. That's really something, honestly, I don't care what you say. Women are just more programmed to do that better than
Jenny
women.
left me on Sunday with the kids. That was the kind of her day to go out on her own. They'd go to bed at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, right? Bedtime. Crazy. All right, we want to start getting into how the company and all your work and efforts started to venture into cigars. But before we do, we have a little segment sponsored by Avo Cigars, Al. It's called As the Record Spins, and we're going to ask you a very special question from Eddie Guerra from Avo Cigars. All right, Al. Here's a question from Eddie Guerra from Avo Cigars in our As the Record Spins segment. Eddie would like to know, if you could live in any city in the world, other than the one that you're currently living in now, Al, where would it be and why?
Okay. I love New Zealand. And
Wow.
There's a beautiful city in New Zealand called Milford Sound. And it's where bungee jumping originated. But it is a beautiful ocean sound kind of a place with, New Zealanders are a lot like Texans. They're a little out of control. And I just enjoy, and I would love, if I had to go somewhere, and I have dual citizenship, but not with New Zealand, but I would live in New Zealand. I mean, it's comfortable, it's beautiful, and there are good people.
Now, what took you to New Zealand? Was there something there? What? Because it's not a commonly mentioned or talked about place. What took you to New Zealand to discover New Zealand?
I was reading an ad one day about a ranch that had hunting in New Zealand, and I ended up flying down there. And after spending a couple of days with the owner, they moved me to their house, from a lodge.
Oh, wow.
And every night we would dress for dinner every night. And then after dinner, we'd put coveralls on and go jump in the back of his pickup and go shoot rabbits.
Wow.
And they have ranch radios, and I shot that antenna off about 6 times. And what they did is they put you inside of 2 inner tubes that were framed by metal, so you could be sloshing around back there driving, but you didn't hurt yourself because of the big inner tube. And then you just shoot these rabbits, and they drive like hell. And I so look forward to that. And I later became a partner in a sheep operation with this guy. We had 20,000 head of sheep in Utah and in Wyoming. And the stories about this guy, he finally killed himself in a helicopter because he was such a wild guy. He was just absolutely incredible. And that's when I started flying helicopters. After I got back from New Zealand, I said, I want to do that because I was a fixed wing pilot. So I ended up, and I still fly here in Parker County for our sheriff. Whenever they have a problem, they call me and say, hey, Al, can you help us find this kid? Or can you help us find this guy who escaped from jail last night? I've had very, very interesting afternoons and days with these guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of awesome.
It really is kind of awesome. Well, we want to start getting into the cigar side, but before we do, I just want to remind all our listeners, as part of a KMA special today, if you didn't catch it during the break, if you haven't tried them, it's a great opportunity to try them. Go to smokeinn.com. There's a code to save an additional 15% on Micallef Cigars this weekend only, today and tomorrow, ends midnight tomorrow. Use the code MIC15. And if you're a big Micallef fan, here's a way to save and stock up a little bit. And if you haven't tried it, here's a great way to try it and check it out and save a few bucks while you're doing it. So, Al, tell us, you're a successful business guy, obviously now. You got multiple companies. And, you know, obviously there's not need to start another company. How did you get into starting making a cigar brand and then eventually owning your own factory?
You know, I've told this story many times, but the Gomez Sanchez family, two of the brothers, you know, when they left Cuba in a variety of ways, none of them very legal, they, you know, they went to Mexico and they had a plantation in the San Andres Valley growing wrapper. And that got taken over by the local Mexican government. And I mean, because of their relationship with one police official, they weren't murdered and buried. So now again, they leave another country with nothing. And so the only way they kept their family eating is they would drive around and stop at cigar stores unsolicited and roll product and sell product. And, you know, and actually they were making fake Cubans in Mexico. You know, I mean,
No.
Yeah, and on the beach, and they sold them on the beach. The great thing about it is they made good cigars, you know, because there are a lot of fake Cubans that aren't very good.
Well, that's the one thing about fake Cubans. Doesn't mean they're a bad cigar. You know, that's why, you know, 25 years, I don't even try to tell people they're fake, because we get people who come in and say, hey, what do you think of this? Or they want my opinion. And even if I know they're dead fake, I don't even want to get into the argument. I'll just say, look, did you smoke one? And they'll say, yes. Did you like it? You go, yeah, it was great. I said, what do you care? Enjoy it.
Who cares, right?
Yeah, go smoke it. Who cares?
So they came into Fort Worth and they had this not old but old SUV, and they broke down absolutely in front of Silverleaf, the place that I hang out. And so they came in and asked Jake if they could roll cigars, and at first Jake said no, but eventually he let him. I smoked their sticks and I went, holy crap, these are really good sticks. And of course, Dan, who you know, they couldn't get their car fixed. They raised enough money to get it fixed by selling cigars. Dan put them up at the Fort Worth Club, where Dan's a member, and I own the restaurant, so we fed them. And you know, they kind of like being in Texas, because I think they could have left 2 or 3 days earlier than they did, but they hung out with us. And finally, at the end of I know they were leaving, I said, hey, could you guys make me 1,000 cigars? And they go, of course we can. And I said, let me tell you what I like. And they go, no. We've watched you for 3 days. We know exactly what you like. So in 7 or 8 months, I got 1,000 cigars from these guys. And I started smoking these cigars. Later became the cigar of the year. And I said, holy crap. I started handing out to my friends who were much more astute at, you know, had better palate than me. And they go, Al, these are really good cigars. I'm not a religious guy, but I pray every night that I ended up having these guys work for me.
I was just gonna say, if I understand this story correctly, because I love serendipitous moments like this, these guys' car don't break down. There's a chance you never even get in the cigar business.
Exactly. No, I wouldn't have been.
See, yeah. And this is why I try to teach people all the time, especially, you know, I try to mentor the guys that work for us here, because a lot of them believe in luck. But I often say luck is just most of the time realizing opportunity that's right before you where other people don't see it. And here's a perfect example. These guys' car break down. They end up putting them up, feeding them, spending time with them, and eventually built a company, from that. So here it is. Is it luck? Is it your opportunity to see a situation eventually and say, hey, look, there's something here? I mean, this is a great story. These are the stories, the kind of stories I love.
Hey, what I realized is these guys extremely talented at blending and processing product properly, but they were the worst business people that I don't know. If you went to a third grade class, you probably have more business acumen in that class than these guys had. They're from Cuba. They know nothing about it.
That's very common with talented people. that. Some of the best chefs don't know how to run a restaurant. I know a lot of guys who are great artists or designers, but don't know how to run their own company. It's two different parts of the brain when you're considering, when in that side of a business, and very seldom will you find a guy who has both. It's common.
And I said to the guys when I finally got to the point where I was investing with them, I said, guys, I have one rule, and it's I don't have partners, because I've never seen a partner situation over a long period of time ever turn out in a positive way.
True.
And so I said, you'll make more money than you ever made in your life. Your family will have monies for cars and houses and college and all those things. But you know what? I'm going to be running this business from the marketing standpoint and from growing this business and developing ideas with all my guys that are really good at it here, not me. But I said, that's the deal. If you want the deal, fine. If not, I'll do something else. And they agreed, and I've kept my word to them, and their family, they're doing very well, and they are taking incredible care of us. Our product, as you know, Abe, year after year after year is consistent, and I don't think we have a bad cigar in the whole bunch. I go back and smoke stuff I smoked in the beginning and say, hey, now I understand why I smoked it, because it's great product. And the most important, I'm a quality maniac in our restaurants and everywhere. I mean, I believe that eventually quality wins out, and we've been very successful and very lucky in the cigar business, because we have these guys, and then we have people like Dan and Amanda and the other people in our organization, Alan, who's worked for me all over the world, built plants, managed plants everywhere for me. And now he's doing it in Nicaragua. So
you end up acquiring their factory.
Yeah, which was basically inventory that they've had for years, which gave us a hell of a start, because we really did have product that was 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, tobaccos. And so, and that made a huge difference when we started. And right now we're buying product for 2024 and 2025, so that we truly have product that has been fermented properly many times and aged properly. And so, I believe in that. I mean, I'm going to eat every day, whether I sell a cigar tomorrow or not. But I want that quality, and I want it to move into the next decade. And I want to build a substantial quality company, and I'll be happy.
Now, I had the pleasure of actually having a meeting with your team, Dan and Amanda, and I was extremely impressed. I was impressed at their philosophy, how they were running it, how they were interacting and dealing directly with the consumer base. I think a lot of people think that making a great cigar is the end all, and that's enough. And I see that all the time sitting in this office right here, and it's not. And you've managed to, which is typically a sign of a successful company, acquire yourself a pretty amazing team. Now, did Dan and these people have backgrounds in the cigar business, or how did they look at this when you started venturing into it?
Well, they didn't have a background in the industry, but they certainly had a background as a consumer and of fine cigars. And Dan is, he's sitting here. I got to tell you, I've had hundreds of executives work for me. I've never had a guy like Dan. He is he's incredibly bright, thoughtful, never blames anybody for a problem. He just wants to know what the problem is, and he goes to work and correcting it. And you know what? At some days, as you know, Abe, you go into work and go, why the hell am I doing this? I'm killing I am totally excited again. And I come in on days that I'm off just to sit there and chat with these guys and figure out strategies and new plans and new ideas. And everybody said, you've been in the business for 8 months. You're buying a plant. You're buying a place in Esteli. And so we ended up buying Davidoff's plant when they left. And, and we've been upgrading that plant for 3 or 4 years now. And, and I'm so proud when every week we talk with Alan if he's down there. We Zoom with him and he takes me through the plant and all the changes we've made and what we do with employees. We try to treat people like we do in the United States. There's no difference between us and the guy rolling that cigar other than we've had some opportunities or we've taken advantage of some things that they didn't have the tools because of being in a third world country. And so we've got a lot of loyalty. We don't lose very many people. And rolling, as you guys know, rolling cigars in the way Cubans did 50 years ago takes a lot of additional training. And it takes a lot of additional cost to triple ferment product and to keep a lot of dollars wrapped up in old inventory. When you're buying product for 2024,
right,
today, putting millions of dollars in product that you're not going to receive a nickel from for 5 or 6 years.
No, so, that's part of the game. When guys get into the business, they don't realize just the amount of cash flow and tying up you need to be able to run a business where you actually have product to sell on a regular basis and not running out for months.
It's interesting. While you were talking, I'm actually smoking a Micallef Experienza, but I got down to the point of taking the band off, and I came across, I didn't know this before, this great graphic on the back of the label, an alliance between two great families. It was just, as you were talking, it just kind of goes to show your commitment to each other.
Yeah, that's our attitude. I mean, our attitude is, everybody uses this word partner, and they abuse the shit out of it. Believe me, the automotive industry calls your partners, they're putting you out of business. We really believe that, if you want, you want the people in my headquarters are with me, every one of them 20, 30, 40 years with us. It just, you are part of our family, and I love them and I love their kids, and that's just the way we operate. And Dan came to work for me one day a week, and we sucked him in. Now he's up to his ass in alligators and loves it.
That's awesome. It really is. Before we get Coupon here, I want to just ask. I want you to touch base because one of the things when I had a meeting with your team and my team, we had a Zoom conference call. I was very impressed with was, like I said, how they were grasping the culture and the interaction with the consumer base. And you guys have like this amazing ambassador program. I think there's like 5,000 people in it. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Al?
Yeah. You know what? Dan, because of his background at running a $3 billion business at Microsoft, he's very data driven, but not in a way that makes him, ineffective. So we commissioned a university here that we're very close to, Texas Christian, TCU. Dan wanted to know what drives someone to try your product. And, we spent $400,000 the first 2 years advertising in various magazines. But we really wanted to know how do you make a decision to try something? When we got through with the study, we found out that, number one of your friends says to you, "Hey, Al, or Abe, have you tried a Micallef? Here, try one." That's number one. Number two, if you're in a store and you have an ambassador or an owner who is knowledgeable, and he says, "Hey, I got some new Micallefs in. It's a new company, but you got to try these. They're great." That's number two. Number three, social media has influence.
Sure.
Number four, our magazines and periodicals. 1%. 1% people make decisions on what they've read in the magazine. They may try the top 25, or they may try something that they saw a flashy ad, but it's very minimal. So Dan and I sit there, we're thinking, okay, guys, how do you get your friend to recommend to Micallef. And we thought we have to develop a core of Micallef people that really truly believe in our product, and so that started the ambassador program. Now there are a lot of companies that try ambassadors, or whatever you want to call them, but you've got to work with those people daily, and you got to put programs together that are fun, that they like to participate in, and you just can't say, hey, I've got 3,000 ambassadors, but you do nothing with them.
Right.
Yeah. So I can tell you, by sitting in these meetings every day when I come in and talking with our staff, they're acting and interacting with those people every single day. And, of course, you've got some people that are totally dedicated. And every time they hear I'm at a store, they show up at the store, and they walk in with their coins, and these people carry their coins with them every day. And so that's really the secret. We're very close to 6,000 ambassadors now.
That's great.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I want at least 10,000 people out there being pseudo salesmen for us, but also I want them to enjoy the experience of our product. And believe me, we listen to these guys, and you guys see flashing on the screen are people that say, hey, my ambassador number is 8,364. I just, and then they now work with themselves. We have guys that have what you guys just did in the introduction, bantering back and forth. Every week they have people on their programs are from all over the country, and they're just chatting the way you guys did. And they've set this up because they're all ambassadors and they want to communicate with each other.
That's great.
No, you and I have very similar philosophies in your company, and and it's kind of one of the reasons why we started our own Smoke Inn social group, because for us, we really believe the best advertising we can have is when we have satisfied consumers that go out there and tell everybody else about how different the experience is when you spend your money with our company. When you buy from Smoke Inn, we really believe that, how we service and the experiences that we create, especially for the guys who, follow our company or involved in our company, sets us apart from everybody else. And no matter how I advertise or what I do, there's no better word of mouth than when we have hardcore people who are enthralled in the culture we develop go out and tell other people about it. And I agree with you. I didn't have to spend $400,000, luckily, to get to that point. But no, I mean, it's give me a few bucks. But that's just something that, being in retail from birth, literally. I mean, I grew up in retail and service and consumers. I saw how my father always competed and kept loyal customers and built, a business in a very small grocery store compared to some of these big chains that were in Chicago. And it was just something I just physically witnessed growing up and became, encoded in how we do our business here. And knock on wood, it's been paying off now for almost a quarter of a century.
Well, Abe, I got to tell you this in all sincerity. We knew who you were from nearly day one we got into business. We never thought we would have the opportunity to work with you guys and be part of your programs. We just, you were just like the icon to us with respect to what you did with your business. I mean that sincerely. If you wanted to see guys that were giddy and happy that we have the opportunity to present to you even over the last few months, you would be very proud of what you've done. I say that with all sincerity.
No, thank you. And I'm just going to tell you something, for us and what we do, and Alex to attest to it, it's a lot of planning and organizing, even when we do things, not just like the Great Smoke, but even just like some inner store functions or competitions or the fun that we kind of have, even things like the Connoisseur Club, which was, something that no one had ever done before. And these are new experiences and new adventures. It's always so much easier to deal with people contact them and be able to come to a realization pretty quickly. Do you want to be involved in doing this or not? And that's the worst battle and the worst thing. I hate being on this end when it's just so hard to get answers. And one of the things that impressed me most about talking about your team is how they got it right away. Like, no, we'd love to do this. We want to be involved in this. And it wasn't like this big thing. And that's what always makes it easier for guys like us on our end when we're trying to do and create things, because the quicker we can get a response and organize and plan, the better it is. And some of these companies just can't make a decision, and it drags out forever. And it's mind blowing. I mean, I don't know how they figure out who's going to the bathroom at what time. It's mind boggling. But no, you have a great team, and I was extremely, extremely impressed and very excited to connect with Dan and Amanda and the team, and just to see how receptive they were to some of our off the wall ideas that we have and projects that we have for this year and next year.
Let me tell you what I really enjoy about you, Abe, is you are honest as the day is long. You call it as you see it, and I so respect that, because a lot of times you'll tell somebody, and it may not be what they want to hear, but it's honest, and you can deal with honesty. You can, if you are open, you say, hey, he's right. I'm wrong on that, and I think that's really, you're really to be commended.
No,
I think it's fabulous.
I just spent a weekend with my father, and I think that's where I got it from. He's just a brutally honest guy. He was brutally honest with us growing up, and look, I just find that any other way to be is waste everybody's time.
Yeah.
You just can't be direct and honest. You're just wasting time trying to filter to what the real point of a message or information you're trying to get across. And some people don't take it well. A lot of people, don't take that well, but it is what it is. It's a universe that I could live in easier, being direct and straightforward every day. And it just makes my life easier than ever.
You would love the Gomez Sanchez family. You would cringe, because if I'm with them and somebody hands them a cigar and says, hey, this is our new product we're bringing out next week, and they smoke it and they go, hey, what do you think of it? And Joel will go, well, it tastes like shit. And so to me, that's a bit more honest than you really need to be. You could say, well, it's very interesting. It's got an interesting you don't tell them the interesting flavor tastes like shit, but I get a kick out of them. They're very honest.
No, that's great. All right, Paul, let's check out what the scoop with Coop is this week.
All right, let's get to Coop. He is on and ready. Sorry, I was so enthralled by this. All right.
Hey, yo, what's my theme music?
The Scoop with Coop. Breaking industry news. Hear it first on KMA Talk Radio and cigar-coop.com.
Coop. And joining us live from the Carolinas, there he is. Oh, actually, Coop, you actually say the town you live in now on your show, don't you?
Yeah, Indian Trail. It's just outside Charlotte.
Indian Trail, okay. So live from Indian Trail, North Carolina is Coop with the Scoop. Coop, how's it going?
How's it going?
Hey guys, can I make one comment?
Yes, sir.
I need to make one. Coop is one of the finest men, and we consider him an incredible friend of Micallef Cigars. And he is, if I've had a mentor in this business indirectly through Dan, it's Coop. I'm telling you, this guy is awesome, unbelievable.
Thank you, okay. Al. That means a lot. That means a lot. Thank you. And as long as we're throwing the compliments, I'm going to say, again, if a lot of cigar companies need to know how to engage with media, just engage with teaming or whatever, I'd recommend them to Al and Dan and tomorrow. They're true professionals, and I've learned a lot from you guys as well.
Well, thank you, sir.
Coop, crank up your volume just slightly.
Little bit. Then once you crank it up,
he's not looking.
Once you crank it up, crank it down 2 notches, because that's usually
that's what happens every time. All right, there we go. So
Coop did not go to TPE.
Right. I did not go to TPE, and it was just a timing issue. making it out there with vaccines and stuff. I will be at PCA. Abe, you were in Vegas, but you weren't at TPE, correct?
No, I just happened to be there. I did communicate with some of the guys. From what I heard, the turnout was higher than normal, they said. But I think I was just from people being cooped up for a year, looking to get out anywhere to do something.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
That was part of it. But no, I didn't once go near the show floor of the exhibition area.
Yeah,
TPE has never been a show for me. I've never participated. It's never been something I've went to, and I just happened to be in Vegas the week on accident that it was there.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that was obviously the big story this week in the news. While I wasn't there, what I did is, I think Matt Ty and Garrett Robinson from How About That Cigar. They came on the air with me from the trade show floor on Thursday, and I kind of got a lay of the land of everything. The thing is, from talking to them and talking to some of the manufacturers, everyone was in a positive mood, I think, because it was like the first big gathering of the industry in almost 2 years, if you think about it. Maybe since the festivals last year before COVID started. So I think there was a definite positive. My observations, at least from video at the trade show floor, it wasn't a ghost town. They had people moving through it even on Friday. So I think that was a positive. But everyone who's at this trade show, they're going to say, Abe, they had a great show. You never hear people come out. I heard one manufacturer once tell me they had a bad show, right? But most people either going to say they had a great show or, traffic down, people were buying. So it's hard to tell because no one is actually ever going to release what their sales figures are from the show. But, I think there was a tone that there was a positive tone with the trade show. There were a couple of other interesting things that I looked at. I think the big story came on Thursday, and I heard you guys talking about masks at the beginning. Thursday, after the first day on Wednesday, there was a memo that went out from the TPE to all the attendees basically saying you have to wear your mask when you're walking the floors. And then there was at the party they had, there was another announcement on that, followed by a second memo before the show opened on Thursday. What Matt and Garrett told me is Wednesday there was hardly any mask enforcement. Thursday the game changed and there was a lot more mask enforcement. The interesting thing about all that is I guess the safety officers were like these scantily clad women. Or skin-tight dressed women, and I was laughing. I was like, that has to be the most brilliant idea I ever heard from mask enforcement.
That's genius.
Who's gonna get mad at them?
Do they lift the mask up for you? Put it on.
There's some pictures out there. One had like a whip in her hand, right? This is no joke, and people were like apparently there were people I heard from Matt and Garrett that they put the masks down so the safety enforcement officers would come after them to put it back on.
That's funny.
Great idea.
What else you got?
Great idea. I think also the other thing is there was some interesting product releases that come out that I'll just note a few of them. All Saint Cigars, the line owned by Mickey Pegg. He has a new line called St. Francis that he's introduced. It's an Ecuadorian Habano Oscuro line. He also has a line extension to his Dedicacion line called the Mitre. I think I got that right, Mitre. It's a rounded torpedo. If you're an EP Carrillo fan, they have something called the Trilogy. It's a three cigar box sampler, and it has the La Historia, the Encore, and the Pledge. Encore and Pledge being the number 1 cigars of the year in 2018, 2020. La Historia, number 2 cigar of the year in 2014. If you want to get all 3 of those cigars, you can get that. And then I think Vintage Rockefeller, that was Kevin Schweitzer's line. He has a new Art of Magic limited edition cigar with a Cameroon wrapper that's coming out. So he was showing that off or giving that out to folks who were at his booth. Here was the most interesting thing I saw at TPE. TPE, at least I saw, TPE tends to be more for, still the convenience stores. But Alternus was showing off this Monte Cristo BRM humidor, which is priced at $11,000 at this show. And it's a luxury humidor. It's got a custom Monte Cristo blend in it. It's got a Bernard Richards watch in there, and the Humidor has a built-in watch winder, and this thing priced at $11,000. I thought that was kind of an odd thing to show at TPE. I know they were showing this off also at the Meat Lovers Club dinners in Texas that were held this week. But I actually saw a video of the unit. It looks spectacular. But I thought that was an interesting move that they took that to TPE. I don't know how many people would be shopping for that there, but it's interesting, I thought.
Yeah, that's something else. Wait, the most interesting thing at TPE to me was the video of Cigar Dojo and Michael Herklotz.
Oh, I saw that, the bathroom scene.
Yeah, where Michael's sitting at the urinal. I mean, just I guess how everybody bothers you at the most inopportune times. Abe's talked about that. You have to like hide from certain people. It was just awkward, in all honesty.
It was definitely awkward. But I was trying to figure out. That probably makes sense though, how you said it. I was trying to figure out what they were doing with that. I was waiting for something like, what's the catch here? And it was like really nothing. And I don't know. I think it came across it came across kind of funny in a way, just those two guys. But how Eric came in there. But I thought there was shoe was gonna drop or something in that video. It didn't happen.
It was strange for sure. I watched it. I thought it was funny. But anyway, what else you got, Coop?
Just one last note. Camacho also showcased a new release there. It's called the Camacho Factory Unleashed. This is going to be something that's sold in 100-count crates or paper wrap bundles of 10 cigars. This is I want to say it's a little more of a value price cigar that they're going to have. But it's basically the Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper over Honduran binder and Honduran, Nicaraguan, and Dominican filler, and that'll be hitting the stores relatively soon.
Okay.
And what else? And what did we not ask Mr. Micallef that we should have asked him, Coop? Because you always have something.
So you kind of talked on the ambassador program, which Al, I don't know if I had a chance to talk to this. I remember when you launched that, I was doubting if it was ever going to work because I've seen so many of these ambassador programs not work, right? And yours has just proved me wrong. You guys made it an integral part of your business model, and I think this really ties to your business strategy that you launched at the beginning of last year when your company wrote an open letter to consumers, and it was a strategy that was not only put on paper, but it was executed. Talk a little about why you kind of went with that open letter with this strategy, and how do you progress with it so far?
Well, I strongly believe that we have two jobs, maybe three jobs. The first job is to support the brick and mortars out there because they're the backbone of this industry. And without them, we would not have an industry. Number two, the integrity of doing what you say you're going to do is really important to us. You write an open letter, you put yourself, you create a situation where you better deliver because you've opened your mouth, number one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that number two, it is our job as manufacturers to bring more people into the industry, via, the women's program that Amanda's putting together. Okay. Discussing and debunking some of the health risks of cigars, which in my opinion doesn't really exist. And so, a lot of people say, a lot of manufacturers, and it's obviously hurts you to some degree because, you give up some reasonable volume dealing with the companies that are that catalog people, but you can see, and traveling like I just did all over the country and realizing how these discount people, these Amazons of the cigar industry, hurt the retailer and retailers calling us and asking to do business with us because we said what we were going to do. It was a gutsy move to call it as we see it. But Abe will understand that because he calls them as he sees them, and we feel the same way. So that's why we did it. And we tried desperately for a long period of time to figure out a way that we could work with these people without hurting the bricks and mortar. And they have their philosophy and they have their corporate plan. And you know what? We didn't believe in what they were doing. Okay. And so we said, okay, we'll put ourselves on the line and we'll call it as we see it, which we did. And you know what? I don't know what more to say. The brick and mortar people are all families like we are. It's just like Abe's businesses. It's like all you guys, we want to feed our family, and we don't want you to steal from us. So we basically laid the gauntlet down, and it's been good for us.
I just want to say, because Al, you're spot on, and this is a philosophy and mentality that a lot of consumers don't realize, and hopefully in time they will. Okay, you bypass dealing with a lot of these bigger companies, but in essence, what you're doing is you're building a stronger foundation, right? And I try teaching this to our people here is, look, when you build something, the foundation is the most important thing, because it all rests on that. And if you build a faulty or a fake foundation or something not good, and eventually it all comes down because you didn't build it right. So building it the way you're building it, and obviously you know it because you understand it, is the best for the long term of the brand and the company. What these people don't realize a lot of time is, look, these mega conglomerate catalog companies, they make millions, hundreds of millions. They're not doing that. When you're buying they are the propagators of what I like to call inferior product. They make their livings buying really, really cheap stuff, rebranding it, making house brands, and dealing to the masses, because that's where a lot of the money is. The masses who are looking for that $3 stick, no matter what it is, no matter what label, no matter what brand it is. When I tell people that there are brands out there from some of these companies where the manufacturer doesn't even make the cigar. This is a common practice. They get a licensing fee, and the catalog company will go out and have the cigar made, slap the manufacturer's name on it as if it was made by them or they had anything to do with them, and they get paid a licensing fee. And this is a common practice. So me as a consumer, I like to spend my money with companies that will recontribute to me as a consumer. And that's what companies like yours, ours, when you spend money with Smoke Inn, we like to reinvest it back into consumer experiences and make things fun and better for our patrons, just like you guys are doing. And long term, for me, that's the best foundation. That's the best way to build your company, because we're the ones that are willing to take our profits and not just keep figuring out a way how to make more money, how to buy something cheaper and sell it for more. We're going to keep reinvesting it and building it into our consumer base. You spent $400,000 to figure out, how do I connect with my consumer? I mean, there's a testament to that. And the way you do it is the hardest way, because it takes the most amount of work. It's easier to spend a couple $1 million a year in advertising and make ads. Building a ambassador program, like you said, if you have 10,000 people, all that means is you got to work harder to stay interactive and connected with these people and make sure that it becomes a functional. The idea is one thing, but the execution is a whole other monstrosity. So, kudos to you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I just don't want to be smoking in the middle of winter in my backyard. I want to be smoking at a lounge. Where I have friends and acquaintances and a great time and interchange like we did today. That's what it's about. It's not, the stick's great, but the relationships are greater. And
it's always what it's about. We just had a perfect story. We had a cabana poolside. I got it from my parents. We were having cocktails. My wife goes to the bathroom. She comes back. And she's like, oh, I saw a woman smoking a cigar out there. I'm going to go give her a cigar. I'm like, yeah. I said, you know what? Invite her back. Tell her to come back to the cabana. So she comes back, and she comes back with her boss. And I guess they were there for the TPE, right? So she has an outfit. She's a woman, built the company on her own. She worked for a company that went defunct 25 years ago. She basically took it over. The woman ends up being Iraqi, right? So she's Middle Eastern, and my parents are Middle Eastern. That's where our culture. So, and all of a sudden, we just spent the afternoon together smoking cigars, talking. Oddly enough, they didn't know who I was, which was kind of cool, and we just spent the afternoon smoking and drinking and enjoying poolside, sharing stories. And this is the lifestyle of the community that I've always loved about it. We didn't know these two people. Saw her smoking a cigar, invited her back to Cabana, and we made friends. We exchanged cards. If I'm ever up her way, I'm going to stop by and visit. I mean, and everybody comes to Florida at one point or another, whether you're going to Miami to go to the DR or Honduras or whatever. So, we made friends out of it. So that's my favorite part about the cigar community.
Yeah. Last night I had dinner with the daughter of a cigar store owner that I met in Tampa. And he said, my daughter lives in Dallas. You need to call her. I'll tell her you're going to call her. You need to have dinner with her. And I'm thinking to myself, if you knew me, you wouldn't ask me to have dinner with your daughter. But believe me. but she was absolutely gorgeous, delightful, outstanding artist. And I really enjoyed the whole evening. That's the kind of stuff that happens that obviously made a friend, and this guy liked me enough to introduce me to his daughter. Right. My son showed up, and this girl is very attractive and very bright and very delightful. Mike usually stops by my table and spends 3 minutes. He was there for 45 minutes. So obviously he was impressed also. But those are the things that that happen to all of us every day that you cherish because of the relationship, because of this stick in your hand.
Absolutely. All right, it's that time. Is this the last week?
This is it. This is number one.
This is to find out. We've had this series has been going on now for weeks, where Alex and Coop have been naming their top 10 boxers of all time, and this is now time to find out who is number one in tail of the tape.
Okay, here we go. Time to round out our greatest fighter of all time, pound for pound list. Coming in at number one on my list, Mike Tyson. Just kidding. It's Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson is the reason that pound for pound list even exists. He's the standard by which all other fighters are measured, great fighters. He's a guy that could do it all. He could brawl, he could box. Sugar Ray Robinson could knock you out going backwards. I mean, when the people asked God to create a fighter, he created Sugar Ray Robinson. Literally poetry in motion. There's no question. If you look at any list by any expert out there, Sugar Ray Robinson is almost always on top. Go ahead, Coop.
We didn't even have to exchange.
No, we didn't even.
We knew what it was from the beginning. We actually had our top three correct. Sugar Ray Robinson, hands down. The guy just welterweight champion, middleweight champion. You mentioned personified the whole thing of the definition of pound by pound. I think that it was him who the standard was set with that. Fought some epic fights too. I mean, he really fought some. He was in some wars. A lot of those come from behind victories, split decisions, which you don't see a lot of guys do. And he beat the number 2 pound for pound boxer, which was Henry Armstrong as well. So I mean, a lot of people would make the argument Henry is good, but I mean, you look at Sugar Ray Robinson. The original Ray.
Coop, you still there? Did I lose you?
And there
you are.
Yep, I'm in.
There he is.
Yep.
Coop, one of the best in the industries. Now we just got to work on getting him one of the best internet connections in the industry.
What's wrong with it? Is there anything wrong with it?
I want to give myself a little credit here. On March 29th, I texted Coop, and I I knew our top 3 was going to be the same, but I picked his top 4. I picked his top 4, and I nailed it. I nailed his top 4 on March 29th.
He told me not to tell him, and he told me not to tell him either. Yeah.
Paul, can you pull up that list one more time? Do you have a list with the number 1 listed, or no one made a graphic? Okay.
No, I figured Sugar Ray Robinson being number 1 deserved his own graphic standalone.
There you go. There's that list. Wow.
You got to. Muhammad Ali put boxing on the map. You know, I mean, I never knew anything about boxing, but when I was a kid, I followed Muhammad Ali just because he was so colorful, and he made it a sport that a lot of people enjoyed because of his banter. He was a marketing genius, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, to me, Muhammad Ali brought especially heavyweight boxing back to the ultimate spotlight. But if you go back to like the 30s and 40s and even the 20s in boxing, the heavyweight champ of the world was bigger than any athlete or celebrity in the world. That was the ultimate celebrity. And Muhammad Ali definitely brought that back to the spotlight. Where that's the thing that kids want. You didn't want to grow up and be a middle linebacker. You wanted to grow up and be the heavyweight champ of the world for sure.
Yeah.
Now, do you two want to announce what your season 2 of Tale of the Tape is going to be?
No, I think we should wait till next week.
Okay. Now, is it starting next week, or are you guys going to take a week off?
No, we're going to take we'll announce what we're doing next week.
Okay.
That's what we decided. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good. That'll be interesting to see what season 2 of Tale of the Tape will bring. We'll announce that next week. And now, in traditional closing fashion, it's time to see this week who belongs in a cigar insane asylum.
Welcome to the Cigar Asylum,
Did you know I'm utterly insane? We all go a little mad sometimes.
where logic and reason cease to exist.
All right, everybody. I was not here for our KMA meeting this week, obviously. I just got into town very late last night, so I hope this is a good story, because the one that you picked last week was not an insane asylum. That guy
I was rooting for the guy.
Yeah, he should have been given a medal, an award. So let's see who belongs.
Listen, I need to just apologize for this one, because it's definitely an insane asylum, but it is pretty raunchy. So we have Mr. Micallef here. I feel like we're being very friendly. Just everyone prepare yourselves for the grossness that we're about.
Why do I feel I should have read this in advance? All right. All right. This week's inductee might want to rethink telling people about her secret skincare routine. 31-year-old Las Vegas resident. I could have looked her up if you told me. I could have got an interview. Brittany LaBeouf has gone viral with her new facial skincare routine. She claims that leaves her skin silky smooth and vibrant. Doesn't cocoa butter do that?
I would assume.
What's the secret ingredient, you ask? Well, here's a hint. Brittany can only get it, Paul, once a month. Yep, you guessed it right. It's her menstrual cycle blood. Yep. She uses a menstrual cup to collect the blood and then immediately uses her fingers or a paintbrush to smear it onto her face. She'll let it sit there for 15 minutes and then wash it off. Brittany claims that not only does it make her facial complexion feel silky smooth, but she has a deepened energetic connection with her cycle. Yeah, I have no words.
Do we have a picture of her?
I hope not.
I do have a picture of her.
Oh
if
my
you want to
God.
see it.
Oh
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
And this is what goes viral.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Is she really 104 years old?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, she doesn't look that vibrant and youthful.
Wow. Unbelievable. That was a cigar insane asylum of this week. Yes, Neil Buff, you definitely belong in one. Once again, we hope we thank everyone for joining us and spending 2 hours of your Saturday morning with us. We hope we've entertained you, maybe taught you a little about something, and at the very least, made you smile. Al, thank you so much for your first time appearance here on KMA Talk Radio. I look forward to having you again and continuing to see where our cigar journeys take us, sir. Thank you so much.
I love you guys. I this is a wonderful 2 hours, and Dan you had Dan on your side because he was so worried that I would show up late. I want you to understand, I've never missed a meeting in my life. But Dan, I had 3 wake-up calls from him this morning. I had to keep getting out of the shower to answer the phone. So, I'm delighted to be here, guys. And anytime, I'd love to spend more time with you guys.
Thank you, sir, and we will do it again. Coop, always, thank you for your insight. Now, Alex, before we go, because did you have a question about Coop? You had a question you wanted to ask him. You forgot?
His vaccine thing? Yeah, when is it not an opportune time for a fully vaccinated person? When should a fully vaccinated person be wearing a mask, Coop, besides in the garage?
It's a personal decision. And here's the thing. When you spend a week in a hospital like I did, not knowing if you're going to get out from an infectious disease, you look at things a little differently. And if this is just going to keep me a tiny bit safer, to avoid going through what I went through again, I'm going to do it. So it's a common sense thing. It's a personal decision. I don't advocate mask enforcements coming down from the government or anything like that. Personal decision. Do what you're comfortable with that.
Well, that's where I totally agree with you. It is a personal decision.
Yep.
Personal decision.
So I'm a little more conservative on it. That's all.
And a little reminder, I have a $20 bill I need to get.
I got to get you $1. Oh, did you get PCA doesn't count.
Yeah, did you get your $5?
No, not yet. It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. I'm going to wait till the PCA officially happens to get my $5.
Yeah.
But Quentin, Thor, and Alex, you both owe me a signed bill.
I owe you $1.
Make sure I get that. I wish I could tell you who's going to be our guest next week, but as always, Paul was lollygagging and not doing his job. So we will probably not.
Grow some balls, Paul.
Yeah, I was changing diapers.
Grow some balls, Paul.
Unbelievable. But once again, thank you, everybody.
Paul,
have a great weekend. Enjoy it, and we'll catch you all next week. Keep it lit.